Welcome to Make It Dairy Free. I'm Larisha, and today I'm taking on gluten-free dinner rolls. It is a post that we have had on our website for a little while, and we get a lot of questions about it. Realized we didn't have a video, so let's do one. Okay, so come here. No, like a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Look me in my eyes and repeat after me. I will not change this recipe. Did you say it? Say it with me. I will not change this recipe. In all seriousness, this is not one of those recipes that you want to make changes to. Gluten-free dough can be tricky, and we have picked each single ingredient to make sure this recipe works. All right, let's get started. I don't know what this was. Into a large bowl, add your gluten-free flour, xanthan gum, instant yeast, also sometimes this says fast rising or fast acting yeast, cane sugar, salt, and baking powder. Once all of that is in your bowl, you are going to take a whisk and whisk really well. You want to make sure there are no clumps of any of your ingredients and everything is really well mixed together. Many gluten-free flours, especially 1-to-1 ratio flours, already have xanthan gum in it. So if yours does, you do not need to add more of it. You just only need to add it if your particular brand or package does not say xanthan gum somewhere in the ingredients. What the xanthan gum is doing is mimicking gluten. So it is providing structural support, it is helping with moisture, and it is also helping with that like bounce back that you get when you squeeze a roll together. Now we're going to add in some warm milk. I want to specify warm here because we want to help our dough rise. I recommend using a food thermometer, and you want your temperature to be around 105 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. We're also adding in melted but not hot vegan butter. You want this to be cool enough to touch, as well as some unsweetened applesauce and apple cider vinegar. I want to emphasize how important those last four ingredients are. The vinegar is helping to tenderize your dough, the applesauce is helping with moisture, the warm milk is helping with the rise that we are trying to get out of a gluten-free dough, and then the melted but not hot butter is really important so you don't start this cooking process that makes your dough a really weird texture, like a little bit of gummy, a little bit more dense. All of these things can happen if it is too hot, so make sure it is warm enough to touch. Now grab out your spatula and mix your dough together really well. One positive thing about gluten-free flour is that you don't necessarily have to worry too much about over mixing like you do with regular gluten flours. So take your time here, really make sure all your ingredients are mixed well together and there's no flour remaining, especially at the bottom of your bowl. Now, what I want you to see here is that this dough, even though it is completely mixed, you can still tell it is sticky. For this bowl, I was using the red bag of Bob's Red Mill flour called all-purpose baking flour that I'm showing you here. Now, off camera, I made another batch of dough that I'm going to show here side by side. You can immediately tell by the color that it is different. This is the same brand, Bob's Red Mill, but they're 1-to-1 baking flour. You can see if I pick this one up, there's a little stickiness to it, but not a ton. Now, let me grab the original one I showed us making. Holy stickiness, Batman. That's a lot of stickage there. What we are really looking for is the texture of that second one that I pushed in. If yours is as sticky as the one that we were making together, what you are going to do is add in up to another half cup of gluten-free flour. You're gonna do this 1/4 cup at a time, mixing after each, and then it should prevent a lot of that stickiness from happening. You should be good to go. So, a little bit of stickiness, you're good. A lot of stickiness like that first one, negative Nancy. So back to our dough, I've added 1/2 cup more flour here in 2 separate batches, and this is what our dough is looking like. I'm going to remove all of the dough from the bowl and spray the bowl to prevent sticking. Then you want to place a towel over it and place it in a warm, draft-free place and allow this to rise. What does warm and draft-free mean? I know when I first started baking, I asked myself this same exact question. So what does it mean? Let me briefly explain it. So if you have a cold house, whether that is by choice or you happen to live in an old house that stays cool, I highly recommend that you preheat your oven to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, Once it is preheated, turn the oven off and then place your bowl inside of your oven. This provides a completely warm environment. The oven door is shut, so there's no drafts coming and going, and that is a warm and stable environment for your dough. Draft-free just means that you're not placing it by a window that a lot of air can happen to come in, or maybe your kitchen is near a door and the door opens and closes a lot. That can provide the air that creates a drafty space that changes the temperature in the air and doesn't provide a stable environment for your dough. So that is what a warm, draft-free environment means. Also, I wanted to mention, instead of a baking towel, you can also use plastic wrap over top of the bowl. This makes things a little tighter and helps prevent drafts if you are going to leave it on the counter. Now, I'm removing this towel after 90 minutes of rising, and you can see that it's risen. Now, it's not like traditional yeasted doughs, but it has risen. I'm going to take a scale out and measure the entire ball of dough and then divide that by how many rolls I'm making, which for this recipe is 15. Then I can measure out closely to that amount and roll this into as much of a ball as I can. I like to say that gluten-free dough is like Play-Doh, so it's not gonna be perfect, but get it as close to a ball as you can. I also like to oil my hands so I make sure the dough doesn't stick, which happens a lot with gluten-free dough. Once you have your ball ready, you can place it into a greased 9x13 baking dish, and then you're just going to repeat that with all of the dough until you have no more remaining. Form balls and place them into your baking dish. Then we're gonna take our towel, or again plastic wrap, and cover and let this rise again. Now, I'm showing here after about 30 minutes. I can still see some space in between my rolls. So I'm going to cover for another 30 minutes and let them rise a bit longer. Once I feel confident about the rise, I'm going to brush them with more melted, but not hot, vegan butter, and then we are going to bake them. When they come out, we will brush them with the remaining vegan butter, and voila, you just made gluten-free dinner rolls. Okay, I showed you a lot there, so let's talk about it. One, I use a scale. This is not necessary, but I find that it helps to make sure things are more even, and that helps with the cooking process. So you don't have some that are really small that are going to bake faster, and some that are larger that may be undercooked when you pull them out. Also, again, I highly recommend that you oil your hands prior to working with gluten-free dough. It literally has a mind of its own, and I find that even with that added flour, if you needed it, it still has a tendency to stick a little bit more than traditional yeasted doughs do. So oiling really helps you be able to roll those balls and place them without having to worry about it sticking all over your hands. This is also a good tip for regular yeasted dough as well. One of the biggest tips that I will say in this entire video is watch your dough, not the timer. There is a recommended amount of time, and it is a range, and that is because depending on your ingredients and your house and a lot of other factors, it will affect the rise time. So some people might have the initial rise happen in 45 minutes, and some people might take an hour and 20 minutes. It is that finicky, whether you're working with gluten-free or regular yeasted dough. Watch your dough, not the timer. The last thing I want to share in this is the results from that other batch that I made. I'll tell you in a second why I think it's important, but as you can see here, the batch in the darker pan is the ones that we've been making from the beginning, and the white pan is that 1-to-1 flour. They didn't rise as much even with extra time. They are flatter, and while they are both soft and have a nice give, this one also seems more dense. However, I also thought it tasted better, so there's that conundrum to deal with. Okay, so why did I think it was important to show you the two different flours used with the same recipe? They are literally the exact same recipe, same measurements for all of the ingredients. The only difference was that I used two different flour brands, and they were two different flour blends, but they were from the same brand. So why is this important? Because you can have wildly different results using a different gluten-free flour, and there are a lot of gluten-free flours on the market right now. So Just because one didn't work out doesn't mean that this recipe is a complete failure. You may need to switch flours to get the results that you are looking for. Also, while we're talking about it, I do just want to mention that some gluten-free flour blends have whey or milk powder in them, which are both from dairy, which make them not vegan. So double check your ingredients prior to buying and make sure that it does not contain one of those things inside of it. Overall, I have been told that this is a great gluten-free dinner roll recipe by friends. Yes, they are dense. That is just a factor in gluten-free bread. So if you take them out and you try to squeeze them yourself because you are making them for a family member or a friend, yes, they are going to be dense. That is just gluten-free bread, especially yeasted breads. It is really hard to mimic that with basic ingredients and not add a lot of additives or other things that these big gluten-free brands can add to make them a little bit more softer. But even those brands that are in the stores are dense. All of my gluten-free friends say it. I've even tried some and they are dense. So it is just a factor. They're going to be dense. I'm sorry, but my gluten-free friends still love them, so try them. Also, I recommend that you eat these within 24 to 48 hours or freeze them, because if you leave them out, they will just continue to get dense, and then congratulations, you have made hockey pucks, which if it's in the winter and you're making them like it is now for me, then maybe you can just go outside and play ice hockey. Whew. Okay, that was a lot of information in one video, but I really wanted to try to give you as much information and knowledge on a gluten-free and vegan yeasted bread as possible. So I hope you have found this helpful. If you still have more questions, leave a comment below and I will try my best to answer it. I really hope that this video was helpful. So I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope that if you have gluten-free friends or family members or yourself, that you will give these a try. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.